Shocking moments on paternity court.
They are deceiving. Don't let nothing fool you.
With him.
Never was
At
my
your house
Never.
with him.
She told you that he was still sleeping with her, so you went back and started sleeping with your husband.
Yes.
Now that's a mess if I've ever heard one.
After the Smith family's son's tragic death, Miss Laster and Miss Hicks unexpectedly came forward, claiming that Demised fathered a child with each of them. Two women with almost the same storyline on their lips just confused the plaintiff, so they came to Judge Lake.
Smith, you and your daughter have opened 2 cases today before you become emotionally attached to these children. Ms. Hicks, you say the Smith family has a personal vendetta against you.
Yes.
And that is the only reason why they're denying your 3-year-old son, Jakari.
Miss Hicks was sure that Mr. Travis was the father, but Miss Plaintiff wasn't buying it. However, the young baby mama had some genuine reason to believe that. Nonetheless, first, let's watch how Miss Smith testified plethora of her doubts.
But never being with my brother.
Ms. Hicks, how far along were you when you showed up at Miss Smith's house?
Never came to us once
Girl
and said that
used
she
to
was
be at
pregnant.
your house with him.
Never was
At
my
your house
Never.
with him.
However, as far as the defendant was concerned, there was another sweet mystery that further acted as a catalyst to all the concerns against Mr. Travis. This makes sure no wonder he had been living a colorful life.
And then she came after the fact my brother hadn't passed. And she say, can Malachi stay tonight? You want to keep your nephew? And then she was like, this really could be your brother's child. So I was like, oh.
Oh, wait a minute. And all this time, this little boy Malachi was there?
Never mind, both the defendants were certain in what they had to say, but Miss Smith, being the messiah to death, and with the potential father gone, wasn't ready to let them climb the barricade. She had an explanation for everything these baby mamas were putting her through.
So when you got pregnant, did you tell Travis?
Yes, and when I told Travis, Travis was so happy and he went back on the time, he told me he didn't even need a DNA.
If he wanted to mess with her, it's nothing that I could have said to stop that.
And you
so
hated it.
that right there is irrelevant to me.
By now it looked like this, paternity game was far from being over. The discussion only gave feathers to the notion that Miss Smith was here in the court for a reason, not wanting anyone to have the death benefits of her brother unless the baby is proven to be Mr. Travis's. But just listen to what Miss Laster has to claim.
So I had Malachi DNA tested too, which came out to be 99.9% not his.
Now, I've never received a result that says that someone's 99.9% not the father.
I don't know, Your Honor. That's what my paper
Okay,
said.
I just want to show you something.
Anyways, with enough confusion going on in the courtroom, Judge Lake knew all that mattered to the Smiths was the DNA result, because they surely didn't want to get invested in babies who weren't related to them. So let's get that envelope, shall we?
When it comes to 3-year-old Jakari, it has been determined by this court, 0.00% you are not related.
Oh, wow.
Here's to another conundrum of absent fatherhood. Miss Connolly wasn't sure if the defendant is the biological father to her 23-year-old daughter. Being a hustler back in the day made the alleged drop his avuncular hat and scoot out of the family picture. Hence, the session commences.
So, Ms. Connolly, tell us about what it was like growing up without a father.
Who's alive and well, not in jail, not dead, not in another state. He's living in the same state.
Oh, the poor girl always wanted to be the daddy's little princess, but we don't always get what we desire. Anyways, Mr. Harrison knew what pain he had caused to the young plaintiff, and that's why he stood looking guilty for his actions, was ready to answer, and had a lot to say regarding his doubts.
When we met, we had a relationship, and one daughter was born, and at the time she said, well, that's not your child.
But it wasn't your child.
Right, so I just kept on.
It was proven to be so.
Right, well, no, it wasn't proven. She said it wasn't mine, so I took her word for it.
Well, that explains why the daddy wasn't willing to connect with his alleged daughter, Miss Artesia. But just wait for a second. What was the big black mama up to in her past? She also has some bitter confessions to make.
No, I wasn't, because at that time, I'm ashamed of myself because I was living a fast life. I was a party girl, like, when I used to go out a lot. I used to sell drugs, hang in the street, party, It's party animal.
So Miss Connolly wasn't sure herself, and she testified to having a promiscuous past. Nonetheless, at least now she's honest. Coming back to the hearing, Miss Plaintiff has more things to clarify. As today she was on a truth streak, she will let everything out in just one go.
We stayed together, and because I tried to be a good wife, I was, still selling drugs, doing things that I was, out in the street, partying, having fun. Then they would go to work, come home. I was a good person.
Can someone explain, how can you be a good wife selling drugs? Well, Miss Connolly believed she was. Ironic, right? If that wasn't enough, living the street life of OG had put old mama through some adventures.
I hope this doesn't happen again. I've had one child and it's not his. What if is Artesia's his? Like, are you concerned? Are you questioning?
Because at that point,
Well, she never stayed home.
I
as
never
well.
was in the house. I got locked up. I had Artesia in prison.
Gotcha.
I was still hanging out in the
And
street.
before that, were you with many different men?
Hustling, partying, and now even getting locked up. Sounds like Big Mama G was the game in her old days, but that has made her child suffer. However, Mr. Harrison raised another question that solidified his claim, but Miss Plaintiff stood ignorant of what he said.
Possibly
Right.
the father, then why wouldn't you
She
go
should have stopped
down
that long time ago.
and go to the
child support would've
courts
stopped
and
that.
request child support, and then they would have found
That's
me?
correct,
So
correct.
because that didn't happen, in your mind, you began to doubt even more.
Right.
Knowing that both parties have been looking for closure, Judge Lake was aware of the fact that now only the DNA envelope is the critical anticipation in the courtroom, so she went straight to setting the record straight.
In the case of Connolly versus Harrison, when it comes to her father.
I never introduced her into my family for my doubt. I let my doubt get the best of me.
Scrubby confusion is going on, as Mr. Cooper was certain that in light of the recent events, it was impossible he fathered Miss Canterbury's 2-year-old son. He wants nothing to do with child support. Usual claim, right? But that is what this court is all about.
So, Mr. Cooper, explain your child support concerns.
And some people be good men and get criticized, and then they be sitting here, then all they want is just the money from them, and it ain't gonna be me today. She know that baby ain't mine. That's like she just called me last night talking about some, would you be mad if he wasn't yours?
Oh, that's a lie, though. That's a lie. I never said any of that.
Well, that's one bold testimony. Pointing fingers at the defendant, Mr. Cooper had some more concerns to show regarding baby mama's past. Seems like he had been preparing for this day all his life.
She was with her people, I was with mine. It's like we just linked.
You don't know me.
Okay.
So wait a
You're not
minute, what
even
you're
around.
saying is you had mutual friends.
He wanted me to have his baby.
I'm gonna stop you right there. Your Honor, she's a lie. I never said that. I'm enjoying this moment right now in so many words. That's all I said, Your Honor.
Mr. Cooper seems like he's holding something against the mommy. The guy was a total scapegoater, and Mr. Plaintiff wasn't done at all. Just listen to how he found out about Miss Canterbury's pregnancy. Man, there's one thing after another.
Your Honor, I was on social media. I'm strolling. I see she pregnant. She took a picture.
This is the picture in the monitor you saw?
Yeah, that's one of the pictures. I liked it, a couple of them. She didn't say nothing to me. My mama called me, some girl here with a baby. Huh?
The plaintiff was holding an arsenal of doubts, and it seemed like he'd believe it was his child when the pigs fly, or of course DNA proves it. Nonetheless, in a spiral of previous allegations, another situation emerges from the dark that shook the entire courtroom, and Miss Canterbury owes everyone some explanation.
You know this baby was my baby. Or you claim it to be my baby. If you had a baby and you thought a man was you would say that, right?
Of course, but I
just
wouldn't
not
have
gonna
a
have nobody
potential.
stuck in the dark, living a lie. You're not gonna do that.
I
You know
said
what
there
I'm
was
saying?
another person,
The
yeah.
first, I got, man, this, and then she trying to say, the baby mine, the timeline don't even add up.
It does.
Without even flinching an eye, Miss Canterbury stayed firm on her claims. But wait right there. What about all of the accusations being rubbed in her face? Even clarifying the timeline wasn't helping, because the potential father had brought the conception calendar for the court.
You see right here?
Yes.
In the week of September, this is the first time we had sex. I wore a condom. Judge, I woke up with it on.
And so you say this whole timeline doesn't lead to what ultimately is determined to be the window of conception.
My point exactly.
Well, Mr. Cooper, not just you. We all came here to find out if the baby is yours or not. Anyways, the dramatic theater of doubts was still on. Both parties were desperately waiting for the results. Hence, here comes the paternity truth envelope, and it reads as follows.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Cooper, are the father.
Like I said.
Thank you, Your Honor, for those results. I will leave you alone
I got you. Now I will
Okay,
contact you
okay.
myself. I won't go through nobody else.
Cheat and joy can make you weep in silence. Take this case for instance. Miss Bargy stands in between her husband and ex-boyfriend. Both men have claimed to fathered her 2-month-old daughter. Good luck getting out of this paternity triangle.
I was having issues with my husband when I came back. We had been together for about a month, and we ended up having intimate time. And then a few weeks later, me and Mr. Lawson reincarnated and we got back together.
If you have problems in your marriage, you don't just go sleeping around the lady. Still, the baby mama seems to have some crazy brain processing. And if that was a quick shock to you, wait and listen to what she has to confess next.
So take me to the day you found out you were pregnant.
It was April the 27th. The whole month of April I was getting sick, and I took a pregnancy test, and then it came back that I was pregnant.
Well, that's even faster than the speed of light. But the plaintiff didn't just stop there. She even concealed the pregnancy from her husband. What was she even thinking? That's just bizarre. See for yourself how the poor husband found out about the pregnancy.
My husband, he had a mutual friend that was on my Facebook, and they had actually sent him a picture. I am pregnant, and then we started talking about the dates and everything, and even Mr. Bargy had stated that he could be the father as well because of the dates.
Facebook connecting people indeed. Anyways, back to the hearing, the wife had done enough talking, and it was time for the judge to ask Mr. Bargy for some clarification in the case. But the courtroom was flabbergasted by what he testified.
McKenna's biological father.
Yes, because there was multiple times that we slept together.
So well, wait, I thought you were living with Mr. Lawson.
Yes.
Well, after this, one thing is certain: everyone in this triangle is as crooked as a dog's hind leg. But there ain't a mess that Judge Lake can't take a note of. Flexing her skills, she went on to summarize the facts of the case. Something like this.
She told you that he was still sleeping with her, so you went back and started sleeping with your husband.
Yes.
Now that's a mess if I've ever heard one.
So now it's time for the big curtain to fall, and paternity court is the place to reveal the truth in style. Hence, all fingers were crossed, and the DNA envelope was in the session. The judge sets the floor and read the results.
The biological father is Mr. Lawson.
Coming up in another encounter with Judge Lake, Miss Burks drags her boss from work to paternity court, who's alleged to fathered her 4-year-old daughter. Well, they both probably have taken the job too seriously.
So he was your boss. How did you end up getting into a sexual relationship with your boss?
She asked me, can she spend a night in my home? And she asked to massage my back and my feet.
He lying, Messiah. That's a lie. That's a lie.
Okay.
We are not sure if this was part of the job description or who asked for it first, but the child is here and baby mama is answerable to her. However, trying to smartly get away with the allegations, Mr. Smith said one thing after another. But wait, Miss Plaintiff has everything mapped down to the last detail.
Why such a discrepancy though? She says it was ongoing for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
You say it was only one time.
Because for that 2-year span,
That's not true at all. That's not
To
true.
the fact-
They was assuming that we was together because we've been together. We would be together all the time.
Standing firm on his grounds, Mr. Smith didn't even blink while testifying to what he believed. But wait, Miss Longbraids had all her cards placed to counter the allegation being put up by the defendant. Look what her brother has to say in his testimony.
It was maybe 1 or 2 years, way before I even had Messiah, we had sex. And it was off and on in the last year or two.
When I go home, them guys would still be at work. They'd be like spending the nights together, so.
Can I respond to that?
I would like that.
Okay.
There was a lot more going on than being told by both parties, as if they are hiding something, but they are in front of Judge Lake, and today was the day when slipping emotions or words won't be doing them any favor. However, I wonder, what took them so long to petition a paternity test?
How did 4 years go by without this getting resolved?
He didn't ever want to do it. I did want to do it. I mean, I was nervous and everything, but I wanted to. He didn't want it.
This young lady came to me and told me at the time that this was not my child.
After this, Mr. Defendant went on to state his testimony, and surprisingly, Miss Plaintiff wasn't letting the end loose. Come on, he can't be lying for that long. However, among all the concerns being tabled by Mr. Smith, he told the court something that no one was expecting. Oh man.
Really?
Yes, because of Miss Burks' inability to keep a safe environment for Messiah.
Why would you do that if you think you wasn't the father?
Because I did not want the child to be stuck with you.
Isn't that just considerate on the defendant's part? But was he telling the truth? That's for Judge Lake to find out. However, consistently not agreeing with what Mr. Smith has to say, Miss Plaintiff gets noticed by everyone in the courtroom.
The reason, Your Honor, she called me daddy is because when she can't, or when she falls down, I've always been the one there to get and take
off
them
and
out.
on. That's not true. Everything he said is a lie.
That's not true.
He's a good liar.
Goodness gracious.
Talking about who's lying or who's not won't going to solve anything. Anyway, with all said and done, it was time for the results, as both of them had been desperately waiting for them for about 4 years, and their long wait was finally about to end. Let us have an insight into how the DNA situation went.
When it comes to 4-year-old Messiah Burks, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Smith, you are not her father. I'm sorry I could not give you a different answer, Mr.